I am Erin Patton, Metaphysical Master in a Millennial Age, and it is my life's purpose to guide you and organizations along an enlightened path. So I invite you to sit comfortably and tune in as I welcome you to the Meta Business Millennial, where we get the real conversations you won't get in the boardroom so that we understand this is exactly the path we need to be on in order to grow, evolve, and thrive. Greetings and welcome to the Meta Business Millennial Podcast. I am Erin Patton and I'm joined here today by some wonderful guests, Max Light and Jasmine Rose, Kaisa Rose, and they are my spiritual mentors, friends, family members. Literally, my son calls them Uncle Max and TT Jasmine. And I am just honored to be here from Hawaii, a beach in Hawaii. It's just fantastic to be here. And today's episode is very special because not only am I going to be sharing my own journey, my own spiritual journey that brought me all the way to Kauai, Hawaii, but really anchoring it in the teachings that I have received from Max and Jasmine, that I call an accelerated spiritual journey. And I'm sure you're like, what the fuck is an accelerated spiritual journey, Erin? You're always talking about this acceleration, but what does it really mean? And that's exactly what we're going to spend a very good amount of this podcast talking about today, so that we can really ground ourselves in understanding what that is. And before we jump into it, I just want to encourage you all, if you haven't already, to follow me at I am Erin Patton across social media. Of course, like this video, subscribe to my channel, and share it with a friend, because this episode, y'all, is one to remember, one to watch, and one to learn and receive from. So thank you so much already for your support. And with that, let's jump into it. And like I said before, accelerated spiritual journey. What is that? What does it mean? And who wants to start with that definition? Max.
I guess so. Thank you. And thank you again for having us here. We are very happy to be here with you.
Yes, very, very blessed and happy.
And we feel the same way about you. Right? We are so honored to be part of your life. And thank you for welcoming us into your life. It did start with, this accelerated journey, and that's what Jasmine and I offer. We offer an accelerated path, and that's available through a lot of different things, pretty much our own proprietary methodologies, the way that we specifically do things. And we can have a conversation back and forth. I'm not sure if there's specific areas you want to dive into on that.
I would love for you first to just define, what does it mean to be on an accelerated spiritual journey path?
So just to preface this has been something that we've tried to explain to people, and it's difficult. Just as an intro piece, it's difficult to kind of fully encapsulate this. So we're going to do our best, but we can all of us have a continued conversation on what this more and more deeply means, because this is a real thing and this is significant. Erin here is a testament to that. Your life has changed drastically in the last two years since working with us. Is that correct?
100%.
So part of it is that this is accessible, as I said, because of the way we do things. And when you're exposed to methodologies, tools, and approaches and understandings, right, that are, just for lack of a better word, that they are better, that they are superior, and not like an elitist way. And in fact, that's often, this elitist mindset is actually one of those hangups that a lot of people have. We go to some of the spiritual circles and everybody's like, oh, I'm so great, I'm wearing all white. I actually haven't worn an all white shirt in a long time. It's like the first time in a long time. And nothing wrong with that, right? But sometimes we can think that we're better than another, or we have more knowledge. And we might, but that doesn't make us like better in God's eyes, right? That's kind of like can really hold us back actually in that spiritual journey. Yeah. Mostly because we lack the happiness actually, because that is not something that actually is going to fulfill us. So we have to actually, so this accelerated path is actually a journey into greater truth. It's actually a journey into greater truth, and There's lots of things that we do that are, again, very difficult to encapsulate until you really commit and dive into it. But I don't know if that starts us off in the conversation. Any things you want to say?
I can just encapsulate what you said, saying that an advanced spiritual path is when you have these advanced tools and strategies and skill sets and approaches and methodologies that actually make your life more wonderful. So they're advanced, but they're learnable. And it's just that within our current society, we don't, it's lacking. And that creates more and more problems as we go about trying to make our life more wonderful.
I love the way you said that. You just nailed it. I agree with that 100%.
Yeah. And I want to just build on that because I like to kind of caveat the definitions with personal stories. And when they're saying a search for greater truth and making your life more wonderful, for me, how that started to play out was because I was coming from a place where my life wasn't very wonderful. My life wasn't defined by truth. Actually, I was lying to myself constantly about what happiness was, what accomplishment was. Like many of you already know my story, but I tried so hard to go to Harvard. You know, I got in undergrad, I didn't go, but then I tried, twice actually, which is a story I don't always share, to go for grad school because I really needed that validation on my resume that I was an intelligent, smart, capable human being with Harvard on my resume. Yet after I graduated, I was so unfulfilled and so unhappy that there had to be a greater truth for me than just achieving. And also my life wasn't wonderful at all. Like I had just lost my father unexpectedly. I was in a very horrible kind of toxic relationship. I was, dealing with my mom's mental illness and it was just, it goes on and on. Nothing about that life was wonderful to me, no matter how it looked on the exterior, because a lot of times we pretend, like I said, lie to ourselves about what is happiness. Just because I had all the things and accolades on paper, I had everything looking good, I looked good, nothing about my life felt good. So the feeling was lacking. The truth is in the feeling. And so for me, accelerating that good feeling was necessary for me, or else I was going to die. Like I was just really in a place where I was depressed, I was suicidal, I was deeply, deeply in a dark place. And if things didn't change quickly, then I wasn't going to survive. So when we talk about the acceleration, I did the yoga teacher, training. I became a yoga instructor, technically certified. I practiced Tai Chi. I was doing all of these alternatives, if you will, to try to make me feel better. But, it would happen in that hour. I'd leave it on the mat, but then I'd come back home to the bullshit. So, it's like, yeah, I was having these relief moments, but in releasing some stress, but where was the healing? That was the piece that was lacking. So I really want to kind of stop there and kind of, if you have any reactions to that, I would love to hear it.
So I love that we're diving into this a little more deeply, and I think we're identifying some of these pieces. I think we're trying to speak right now to that a lot of people do, like probably a lot of your viewers, will try different things, right? But not every path is equal. We have to be realistic about that. We cannot be like if you ask a little kid to help you with your SAT test, you know what I'm saying? Or you ask a college professor to help you with it, you're going to get two different paths. One of them might work better than the other. Now, if you ask a little kid how to go play and have fun, you might get a better answer than the SAT professor. You know what I'm saying? Like you might, this is where it opens up a lot of really understanding these deeper elements. And to do that, we actually have to understand more about ourselves. So, but those processes that we use have to really acknowledge that. And that's where some of these older paths, and I do recommend yoga to people. I love, obviously I use meditation and I love that you went through the Tai Chi. Those are all great foundation pieces. But I think the issue is that the problems in our world, like those are not enough to solve the problems in our world. And since your viewers all, are living as part of the world that means that it's likely that some part of you will not be able to actually solve your life issues unless you get to the more advanced methodology, understandings, and some of those deeper healings. Yeah. So I think that, anything you want to say, sweetheart? You like that?
Mm-hmm. I like it.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that too. And I especially love the analogy of learning how to ace the SAT from a preschooler or from, a college professor. That's a very great analogy, because we want to be able to work with people that are not only ahead of us, are capable of teaching us, but are a little bit ahead of us, to be able to show us the path, if you will. And I believe that underneath that is the question is, what makes you qualified? You know what I'm saying? What makes me qualified to be able to lead you and other people in that, next level direction? Because let's be honest, like, if you're watching this, you are bombarded by people on your timeline that are talking about they have a better way to make you 7 figures. You can be a great coach. I'm the best coach. I'm the best life coach. That. I mean, it's trending so hard now. The competition and the noise in the field is very loud. And how do people like us who in my view and really have the goods, are really qualified to guide and show the way, set ourselves apart from the rest? And that essentially is, the je ne sais quoi and the question of the day. And I'm wondering, like, how do you all respond to that? I don't know, Jasmine, do you want to try that first? Okay.
Yeah. Thank you, dear. I think that what was coming to me on that is ultimately it's going to come down to a divinity thing. Like, if you're actually divinely aligned with us, that there's that greater force in the universe, it's the right time for you, you will come to what you need in that area. And if you're listening to our message, then, you're listening to it. You're going to take it in. You're going to listen to it. You're going to process it. And you might like some of it. You might not like some of it. But, we also, all of us here, have to surrender into this greater aspect of, like, we're all gonna do our best to communicate, but we're not the sum total of everything that's going to create the situation that makes it work. Like, for example, with you, we're always trying to make our message clearer and more understandable, and to clarify for somebody if this is for you or for not for you, right? But you didn't really 100% know why you signed up with us. It was a deep intuitive feeling, I think, ultimately. And you were like, I'll give it a shot because I like giving things a shot because I really want this, and I'll try it. You know what I'm saying? And I'll try it out. So there was, like, it wasn't like we had a graph with, like, all the statistics, like, like 50 layers deep on what you're going to get. It's like there is most definitely an intuitive feeling. I think another part in this case is your kind of cost rewards kind of analysis a little bit. Well, the cost of not moving forward for you was bigger than this risk of it not working out. So you're like, let me try it. I almost have nothing to lose at this point, already having a shit show of a situation. So I need to try something, and maybe this will do it. If it doesn't, I'll go to the next thing. Like, that was what kind of set you aside, is like, we just were aligned. We were divinely aligned, like you came, we were aligned, from that higher force, from God, or whatever your belief is. But it was that guidance of that feeling to try it out. And it, it's played out in aces for you, obviously. But yes, here, go ahead, dear.
I could add that you'll be drawn to either Max and I and Aaron when you have sincerely tried and put your best effort into making your life more wonderful or successful, whatever your goals are. And then feeling like something still is missing, like you're not getting the return of the amount of effort you're putting in. Because, Erin, she was driven. She was like, I'm going to go for it, and her best attempt was, I'm going to get a Harvard education. I'm going to work really hard. I'm committed. I'm dedicated. And this is the pathway to make my life more wonderful and more fulfilling and happier. So I think at some point when you reflect in the amount of effort, if you're like sincere and you're really like trying everything, Erin was trying the yoga and the different levels of finding guidance. She was open to that. And then when you're like, whoa, I'm feeling overworked, I'm exhausted, I'm tired, I'm frustrated, and what I'm doing is not sustainable, yet I'm getting some progress because I have some grit and I'm going for it. But I know that, or maybe you're either lying to yourself or maybe you are aware that, okay, how I'm going about this isn't giving me the return that I'm putting into it with my best effort.
I really love that, and that you hit the nail on the head kind of with the exhaustion. I'm tired. I've put in all the effort that I need to find something deeper. And I also love what you said, Max, about being divinely aligned, because this is the piece, too, where I got a little butterflies in my stomach when you said that, because I know that that's a piece where there's a lot of resistance for people out there because of the betrayal that they've experienced with people who have said similar things. And I know that to be true because of what I've experienced and hearing from many of you, and also my own personal journey, having, joined spiritual organizations and been, led astray, if you will. For me, I had a lot of issues with my journey with the church and feeling like I was lied to by people who I revered and really respected, that were people of God. And, to say that, you have to be divinely aligned to work with us almost sounds probably to you like a cop-out, and I respect that point of view, and I honor that point of view because it's actually coming from a real place for many people. And I just want to encourage you out there to continue your line of questioning around why you feel that resistance. What in your life and your life path and your life experiences make you question, our intentions or anyone else's intentions that say something like that, because that is exactly how you start to reveal more of the truth that Max was speaking to in terms of seeking greater truth. And that truth can only come from your feelings, from your intuition, from your journey. And that's exactly how I found them, is I kept questioning, I kept asking God to send me a teacher, send me my teacher. And I talked about my yoga journey, but before I started the yoga journey, I was studying metaphysical psychology through the University of Communication Sciences. I mentioned this before with Dr. Phil Valentine, who many people around the world deeply admire, and I do still too, but his teaching can only get me to a certain level. I needed to have the embodiment. And so, there is a lot that we can study. There's a lot that we can read. There's a lot that we can move with our movement, but then there becomes the ultimate stage, which the self-actualization stage, the self-realization stage, and the embodiment. And this is what I'm learning now with Max and Jasmine, is how do I take all that I've learned, all that I've moved into and experienced, and actually walk and live and breathe in it every moment of every single day. And that too gets at the point of moving past the exhaustion, past the unhappiness, and actually experiencing fulfillment, actually knowing peace, actually knowing what it has to have a loving family, loving friends. I've experienced that this past week, you guys, and you saw it. You saw it on my stories. You see it on my Instagram. You see it in my being, how I'm walking and y'all see me. Oh, Erin, you look so good. You bodying. You all these things comes from my light. It comes from my cultivation of my soul, of my beingness, and that is actually what you're seeing. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, one of the things that popped out for me here is that when we're moving forward on this as a journey, and I know there's a lot of people out there, we want it to be easy. Of course we want it to be easy. In some ways it does. There is an easy quality that you will get to. But to get to that place is going to take some work. Because already in this conversation, there's already, like, we could go into we've already touched on a bunch of topics. We could go many layers deep in each one of them. And for many of you, we would need to quote unquote validate if this is true or if it's good for you. And that's fine. You know what I'm saying? But that's why I said you're kind of need to be at the right place to, if, somebody that wanted to work with us, for example, or even, honestly, somebody that would want to listen to your podcast.
Yeah.
All the people that are not on your podcast yet, you know what I'm saying? All the people that will never be on your podcast, they're not ready for it.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Yeah.
But we need to speak to the people that are ready for it. Otherwise, they're watering our message down too much.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? So now I do want to speak a little bit on this work topic. Like, I kind of want to say it just to put it out there. I don't want to scare anybody, but you need to want it enough. Like, you really got to want enough. Otherwise, you're going to just collapse under the smallest pressure, And Aaron wanted it enough. And we've had many very challenging conversations, haven't we, hon?
Yeah, very challenging of the back and forth, especially when because you have to learn something new, and everyone has these programmings or way of doing it that are dysfunctional, that are in their way, and ultimately why they're not having the success they want. And that sounds just very logical, like everyone would know that, but the layers deep of what that means and how it's done is quite incredible.
And that's what people aren't always getting. Like, that's a big part of almost a delusion that we think, just look how complex this world is. I mean, look at these rocks. I mean, the chemical composition of these rocks is fascinating for one rock. I mean, and then it's held together. I mean, we got the sand here, right? The sand is not held together, but each particle is held together. I think we're really underestimating the sophistication of our world. And when we do that, we're left in this very kind of only consumer kind of society where we're just ordering on Amazon and just having delivered and there's no work done. Yes, ordering on Amazon is not the issue. The issue is that you still need, somewhere in your pipeline of your life, you are going to be doing something that's going to do something transformative. You cannot only just sit around and only be ambivalent about everything. It's fast forward into that. There's a movie about this. I can't think of it in the top of my head, but where everybody's just super stupid in the future, right?
Oh, okay.
You know what I'm saying? Because the technology's advanced so much where they don't have to do anything, and now everybody's just dumb. It's just show up and the food is squirted into their mouth practically and not even doing anything. That's not I want to make it super clear. That is not our future. Yeah. That is not what's going to happen. And it's a lot more there is an element of the survival of the fittest, but not in a bad way. It's just that we're going to move into the more evolved, ascended, healthy, dynamic, beautiful, magical, amazing kind of future. And it's going to take some legwork. It really is. I could go on and on and on.
Yeah, it's work, but it's doable work, and it actually really is a shortcut, because a lot of times we think we're wanting the shortcut, but the cost is too great, but we don't even realize it until we're in it and some aspect of our life is falling apart or not working. I love that you brought up the topic around work, because the way we do things, it is simple, and it actually is a shortcut to get to where you want. And most of us just subconsciously, when we are going about getting results, the approach creates so much cost, but we don't realize it until we get there and some aspect of our life is falling apart. So, and then when you're ready, tired and exhausted and frustrated, and then to think that you have to do more work, it can feel very overwhelming, or I don't know if I can do this, right? But it's really actually simple. It's just in the beginning, because there's so much momentum in the wrong direction, that to get to ground zero again, it's a little bit extra energy involved in it. But we also, the blessing of the combination of us three is that there are aspects that we can give you that are done for you. When you're sincere, if you're really wanting it, and then willing to put in the work, that's your part. Because that's one of the blessings we offer, is we can do a lot of the heavy lifting, and then there'll be different things that you have to learn, but they're for your own good, just so that you can feel empowered and confident and run your life as that, the greatest version of yourself, really, that potential. So I hope that helps maybe dissolve the resistance to work, or that this is a very difficult thing because it's advanced. It's advanced, but it's simpler than how we learn in university. And Aaron and I both, like, I went to Furman, like Harvard of the South, it was known at that time, and I was so intensely, like, voracious in my pursuit of learning, but and my approach, and so when I think about and reflect on it, it's like the way that we teach now, it's like we have already digested it and we're giving it to you in a very simple way, because we know not everyone has that time or that space to dedicate in terms of everything to their personal growth or their fixing their life, like especially if you're already like so caught up in how things like are I guess the dysfunction that you're currently already living.
And that's exactly what I wanted to speak to, because I know many of you are like, okay, like, what is this work? Like, you'll keep saying work, 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 but I go to work every day. So what are you talking about work? And I really want to start to qualify this work through my own personal experience, because I think that helps to really ground the definitions. And work really is feeling all the shit. And I know that a lot of people spend most of their lives, like this is why we have the dysfunction, numbing themselves from feeling, running from the problems, denying that there are even problems that exist. So the work actually is acknowledging that, hey, there's a lot happening in my life that's not right. There's a lot that I'm feeling inside that doesn't feel good. And that essentially is the work. Allowing ourselves to feel our emotions. And that's what Max and Jasmine are saying, because when I was working with them 2.5 years ago, I still was in a shitty relationship. I still was dealing with a lot of challenges with having, proper care for my family, for myself. I've shared this many times on the podcast, in and out of court, still actually in and out of court, but, but with some, winning. But on the winning side. You know what I'm saying? Emotionally, especially, I walk in there like a fucking champ. Like Muhammad Ali. Like like no one can touch, like nothing can touch me. But that was not my energy a few years ago. I was actually subject to all that was happening to me. I was defeated by things that were hard emotionally, and I allowed myself to be in relationships where I was constantly being abused. So the work actually required me to change my behaviors, change my attitude, change my energy so I can change my fucking life. That's the work. And that work is not easy because it's painful, because we've been conditioned our entire lives to behave in this manner, to accept these things.
And let me just clarify, any arbitrary change is not what we're talking about. It's specific, vetted, tried, tested, and true ways of doing things that work. I mean, you can go to the store and buy the really cheap stuff and it breaks in 5 seconds, or you can get the gold. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
And that's exactly right, is that you want to be able to change in the right direction. I had this same thing for my friend. Like, she's had some things happen in her life, and she was here with us on the trip, and I was like, okay, yes, this is happening for you, so to shift up your energy so you can hit the next level. She's like, oh yeah, I hope it's shifting in the right direction. When you're working with us, it's absolutely working and going in the right direction, because it's in alignment with God. And that's only how we work. And that's the difference between how things have worked in the past. When I always talk about that, how we've done things in the past have been for achievement, for recognition, for worldly gain. What we do only amounts to heavenly gain, for lack of a better descriptor, for God's purpose, an aligned purpose, the highest purpose. And that guarantees success.
Let me expand on that a little bit, because I know that can be interpreted in a wide variety of ways. Many of them are unpleasurable. Right. From my view, when we talk about God and we talk about moving, that we're like, oh, it's not like a claim to be like God's messenger or something like that. Yeah. I think, for me at least, I'll just speak for myself, is that, that's my prayer, just for my own authenticity, and also with my own right relationship with God, which I seek to maintain in good status. I try to keep myself in good status with God. So, it's like, for me, and this is, good to know whether you're moving toward, like, whether you believe in God or not, but, we're looking for something that's good. Ultimately, like, is this going to be good? Not just good for me and bad for everybody else, but good for both of us. Yeah. And that's really, I think, to me, some of the core of what you're speaking to. I think that's the more digestible part, at least, where we want to have it all win-win. Like, we want to all be winning. Like, why do we need to have win-lose situations? We don't need that. What a depressing situation. What if I'm like, I'm winning and then you're losing, but I'm not telling you and I'm trying to keep you from noticing that? What a low standard. Like, what is such a low standard, Yeah. I'm still going to be in relationship with you somehow. I mean, you'll come after me, I'll have to chase. I would go move to another country if, to just get away from all my problems. So that's what we're talking about, like, actually moving forward. Yeah. And a lot of the beliefs that people have are that's not even possible. They're not even thinking that that's even a thought. Like, they're not there. But from our view, we've been working on this for many years, and it's, part of already from our soul interest. It's deeper than just what we've learned in this world today. It goes quite deep. But anything you wanted to share, sweetheart? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I really wanted to just speak more to the work piece, because I really feel like that's the part I say all the time, you got to do the work, but I feel like people don't really understand fully. And as I was describing in terms of my own personal journey, when I started working with them, how they say they challenged me is because they challenged me to first look at my relationships. Like, hey, this person who you think that they are is not who they are. Like, had I not had that clarity of someone awakening me to what's a right divine masculine partner, responsibility, like what should, a mate be doing for you? Like, I was not aware of these things. And these are things that I'm learning from them that I had to, of course, question, because they say I didn't, we talked about this earlier, like, there was resistance in our journey, working journey together. It wasn't just like I just took what they said and just received it. Like, there had to be a line of questioning. Of course, I ran it by people around me. They gave me their inputs. And so I had to begin to just reorient myself around what was right and what was wrong in my life. And that's essentially also part of the spiritual journey. And we talked about this before in a previous podcast, is the unlearning and allowing the unlearning, allowing the questioning and the self-discovery.
Alec, do you want to say something, hon? Can I just say one quick thing, though? I love that we're talking about this, because this is one of the things that really sets our work apart from a lot of others, is that we actually are very interested in questions. We welcome all challenge, but we really want that challenge to become with as much respect as possible. We love being respected. So a sincere question is 100% welcome. Any kind of sincere question, we'll take it. We love the questions. Sometimes they drive us to grow more, also, and we love growing. So we're very in alignment in that case. But a lot of the problem is when people are not actually willing to reveal themselves in a question, because of the conditioning from the punishment that they've themselves had from childhood, probably they think they might see us as an authority, or that we're trying to be an authority. And again, there's lots of weird power dynamics that can kind of play. And so, Erin has asked us many questions. Some of them have been challenging. Some of them have, she has felt easy questions for me, but, hard for you to hear sometimes. And it can take time to understand, so we kind of go around on the topics now and then and let them, let's let this one breathe for a little bit. We'll come back to that in a couple of days, and just we don't need to get too intense about it. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Yeah, I love that you brought up that we are open to questions, because of course you want to know that you're going to move in the right direction. So the questions are good. And then especially if you've been burned in the past, you want to make sure that your energy and effort is going to yield the return in the right direction. So it is wonderful to ask questions, and because the way we do things is proven, we'll walk you through that so that you can understand as well. And then I wanted to speak also to Erin spoke to in the beginning with this type of quote unquote work. It was really intense because of the feelings and the emotions. And usually there's an extreme of where you're either numb because you're running your life the best you can and you got to get stuff done, that. And so maybe you're numb or you can't feel everything because you just actually your life would be more dysfunctional or get more distracted. So you can't handle it. So it's not like a butt down. Either sometimes you run your life that way, or the opposite. You can't suppress it anymore, and the emotions end up sabotaging you in some way. So usually you'll swing from the poles. And so and sometimes it is intense to feel it, the emotions, and go through it. But the reason that, like in our approach, we go through that is because you have to develop a certain level of spiritual, mastery, so that you have some life mastery. Like, that is the future. You can't be cut off from either one, because you'll suffer if you suppress or if you don't know how to process emotions. And the world doesn't teach you proper ways to resolve it. And yeah, because you can feel all your emotions, but if you're feeling it and then it's fucking you up more, that's not helpful either. So yeah, people's strategy to not feel it is for a reason. And then sometimes they'll try some type of healing work and they're feeling it, but then you come back and your life is still fucked up, right? You might get, Aaron said, the release of the stress. So anytime that we go into some intensity, it's very purposeful. Either we're clearing it or there's psychic information we need to understand to get to deeper truths. And then different approaches with dealing with that, so that you can actually get the information, where you're coming back into your power, right? So this just really ties into how there's this cutoff from the feminine in terms of surviving and this dominating power over. And it has worked, but moving to the future is just, if you don't self-correct, in these areas, you will create more and more problems. That's the cost. You're going to have more and more problems. Before, you can kind of get away with it because you're moving some aspect of your life forward, but you're not going to be able to push down the pain anymore, because of how just things are shifting in the world and changing.
Badass. One quick mention here is, I think I'm going to call it the retreat syndrome. So it's when you go on retreat and everything's set up so idealistic, but you're learning the life skills to really go back to your life. Let's turn our life into the retreat. Let's turn our life into something beautiful and magnificent, instead of just, living just, now we're talking about life mastery, and this is the bread and butter of our work. I'm saying, really mastering how to live. And then you're going to get all the accolades that you can possibly dream,
And I think that I love your description, because you started to get more in the technicalities of what the work is and what you're actually doing. And that's what people want to hear is we know that people don't want to do the work because we see it all over Instagram. You're in spiritual, it's you're getting beat up in a boxing match, and it feels like you're bloody and you're tired and you're bruised, and it just never stops. And we want to be able to have not just the relief, but progression, so that we know that my life is actually getting better and better. But if we're not utilizing the right tools, if we're not surrounded by the right guides, how can our life actually get better and better? How can our energy actually shift? And so with that, I really want to start speaking to the work that y'all do with the light body, because I've spoken to it before about chakras and the energy body and the light body, and the work that I've been doing in terms of energy transmissions and activations to really shift my energetic frequency so that I can experience greater amounts of joy, greater amounts of love, and receive it. Because a lot of us, who are going through these challenges aren't even able to receive love in the proper ways. We don't even know what real love looks like or feels like. So I would love for you guys to maybe talk a little bit about what is the light body and what is an energy transmission.
We could dive into that, but one first thing that I noticed that would be really important, and I hope this turns into a great insight and healing for everybody here, but this is the ability to acknowledge when you don't know something. You know what I'm saying? If I'm Aaron asked me something and I legitimately don't know, I'm well, I don't know. Maybe I could go discover it and figure it out. Maybe that's the case. But I am also embodying this teaching of it's okay to not know something. I think a lot of people are very, very scared of acknowledging that they don't know something. Yeah, and we've got to start with that for ourselves. Maybe you don't need to tell everybody, oh, I don't know this or that. That's fine. But we got to start with having that truth conversation with ourselves. if we're not actually acknowledging that, there's no room for your growth. You cannot grow. You will not. You cannot. It's not going to happen because, literally life's going to hit you with a 2x4 in order to get anything through. So we have to there are some things you do know. Those things that we do know are always subject to, some deeper inquiry. And should it not uphold against some inquiry, then that's a good thing. We want to get to what's actually a greater truth and working. So it's not a bad thing. And it's not like people think that their ego is going to collapse under that and that they're going to be, it's like my world's going to fall apart. Like, no, you're going to be fine. In fact, you're going to be far better than you are right now. You know what I'm saying? But thank you for that moment on that one.
So I really love what we were talking about in terms of how doing the work really matters. And I want to just share that, doing the work for me has been so fulfilling because look at me now. Like, that's all I have to say is look at me now. Like, I feel like Chris Brown for real. I have gone through this transformation. You all have been watching. You've seen it just in this past year. Like, Aaron, you look completely different, like not just physically, but energetically, my aura, my glow, like however you want to call it. The work works, people. And with that, I just want to thank you all so much for tuning in to this episode, allowing us to share. Max and Jasmine, thank you so much for being with me on this episode. And I want you all to, of course, check out more information about what we do and what I do at my website, aaronpatton.com. Follow me, of course, across social media channels at I am Aaron Patton. And, of course, if this message resonates with you, DM me. Let me know if this resonates with you, how I can help you, how we can serve you, and continue to grow together collectively. And with that, yes, of course. I would love for you guys to share that.
Yeah, and if you'd like to go check out our stuff, you can visit us at www.erlandia.world. That's ERLANDIA.WORLD. And that's Jasmine and my website where we have all of our stuff. And did you want to say anything, hon?
Yeah. And I would like to add that to reinforce that we love the pushback, we love the question, just come with respect. If we didn't clarify enough or speak to some of what's coming up for you when you listen to it, or you're interpreting it a certain way, or just genuine questions, please write to Aaron and we will go back and forth if it's within our ability to help clarify something so that you can feel confident that you're moving in the right direction with your life.
Yeah, respectful comments below, of course. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, until the next episode, much love and light. Peace. Did you really love this episode of the Meta Business Millennial Podcast? Well, I am honored, and I appreciate you subscribing, leaving a review, and sharing it with your friends, because your feedback allows us to co-create more enlightened conversations. And if you're interested in growing your soul now, head over to my website, aaronpatton.com, to find all the show notes, links, and free resources to get your energy activated today. In the meantime, stay bright, my friends. Much love and light. Peace.